My, how the mighty and arrogant have fallen. Ladies and gentlemen, news out of South Africa that the former leader of the Democratic Alliance and Minister of Agriculture, John Steenhuisen, is being sacked by Ramaphosa. What? Well, further proof in the buddy-buddy relationship between the African National Congress and the Democratic Alliance, it appears that the current party leader who replaced him, a man even further to the left than John Steenhuisen, Jordan Hill-Lewis, has asked Ramaphosa to remove John Steenhuisen as Minister of Agriculture. Now, this comes after 2 years of ineptitude, incompetence, arrogance, buffoonery, and absolute lunacy from the man ill-suited to serve in any office in the cabinet, let alone as a Minister of Agriculture. This is a man who sat by for nearly 2 years watching South Africa's cattle industry collapse because of the inaction of his government. And then his haughty, derisive, idiotic, insulting behavior, which carried through to his staff. We saw that recently with Biltong Barbie sending an email around insulting the very farmers who need help from the ministry. And then another report coming that she purportedly threatened to F up the Free State Agriculture Organization because apparently they were being uppity and asking questions about the incompetence of her department. This horrible attitude towards farmers in South Africa, a critical component of South Africa's economy, has been disgraceful and upsetting. This, of course, is John Steenhuisen, the man who also hired Ramon Cabanach a couple years ago to be his chief of staff. They are friends, so he hired him. And then when social media glitterati came out with unfounded attacks against Ramon Cabanach for his outspoken comments in the past as a political commentator, John Steenhuisen, like the coward that he is, asked him to resign. Well, that was illegal, and Ramon Cabanach fought it, so he sought to illegally remove him from his position as a government employee over his political cowardice. Meantime, while sitting in the White House, he famously missed an opportunity to tell the truth about what's happening in South Africa.
And that is why after 30 years of us exchanging barbs across the floor in Parliament and trying to get one over on each other, we've decided to join hands precisely to keep that lot out of government. Because the day they get in to the doors of the union buildings in South Africa or control of our Parliament, that's what you're going to see. And that is why this government, working together, needs the support of our allies around the world so that we can strengthen our hand, grow our economy, and shut the door forever on that rabble getting through the doors of the union buildings, because then South Africa's future.
Understandable he didn't do it because he was busy licking the boots of his boss, Cyril Ramaphosa. It could have happened to a nicer guy, folks. If you knew all the horrible things about this man, if they were all made public, you'd be shaking your head how anyone ever rose to the level that he rose in the Democratic Alliance. And it opens the question just what the judgment of the people who lead the Democratic Alliance is, that they actually hired this clown to be their leader and lead them into a disastrous coalition in which they were the second most powerful party and become nothing more than a rounding error in South Africa's current government. Reports on News 24 and the Afrikaans language rapport indicating that DA leader Jordan Hill-Lewis has asked President Cyril Ramaphosa to remove his predecessor, John Steenhuisen, from the cabinet. Now, typical South African fashion, incompetence, ineptitude doesn't get you removed from government, it just gets you demoted. So Steenhuisen will be demoted to Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry. Willie Okamp, the Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, will replace Steenhuisen in the agriculture portfolio. Now, Okamp is a farmer. But of course, we know about Willie Okamp with the whole situation and how he came to cabinet in the first place. Make no mistake about it, folks. In a year in which the Democratic Alliance needs to be strong and needs to take control of municipalities across South Africa, it is proving to be an inept, weak, clueless, rudderless, leaderless organization that is more concerned with retaining power and promoting its cronies than it is about the talent in its party and serving the interests of South Africans. Once again, breaking news today, John Steenhuisen has been kicked out as Agriculture Minister, being replaced by Willie Okamp. Not a good look for the DA, and this was done by his successor, Jordan Hill-Lewis, according to media reports. Folks, typical South Africa. Screw up, you don't get moved up, but you do stay on the table. Now he's Deputy Minister of Trade. So now I can go there and screw that up. Long overdue. Never should have been minister. When this man first accepted the post of Minister of Agriculture, I shook my head and I publicly stated he cannot serve two masters. He cannot be the Minister of Agriculture serving the wants, desires, and needs of the President of the Republic while at the same time leading a political party which is based on constituents which have diametrically opposed views from that leader, Ramaphosa. But nonetheless, John Steenhuisen led the Democratic Alliance down the Primrose Path into an alliance that has led to the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act and the persecution of racial minorities through that act, as well as all South Africans who are non-English speakers, the expropriation without compensation and theft of land in violation of Section 25 of the Constitution, the Employment Equity Act amendment, which limits white men to managerial roles in privately held corporations to under 5%, and national health insurance, the communist takeover of the medical sector. All of these things have come to fruition or are about to come to fruition under this coalition with the Democratic Alliance in governance. But the DA gets things done, I suppose, if you're a communist. What about the rest of us? What say you, South Africa, Mzansi? What I say is, I can't say good riddance to John Steenhuisen because he's just been demoted. But at least farmers will see the backside of him. Cheers.